with you. Anything you want.
What's up, guys? Marky Mark, Jimbo Nutrition, Got a Blast Boy, back at it with another video. Today we're doing podcast numero dos. And as you can see, we are going to be talking about the Chicago Cubs.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so yeah, the Chicago Cubs, back at it with my friend, my man, Colton Shipley.
Hello.
Yes. So we'll go ahead and get right into it, right into the podcast. First, we're going to do, like we do with all of our podcasts, we're going to start out with talking about the farm system and kind of like their minor league team. Just if you guys haven't seen the other podcasts that we've done, link down in the description, watch that podcast too, talking about the St. Louis Cardinals. So yeah, the farm system. Chicago, they play in Iowa, and their team won 64 games, I believe, last season, as opposed to the Memphis Redbirds, who won 91 games.
Right. They're the Memphis Redbirds are clearly a far superior team.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to compare them to the Memphis Redbirds because the next highest team besides the Cardinals was like 80 games for a winning team.
Right.
So, I mean, like, you really can't compare them to that, but still a 64-win season is not what you were wanting from a minor league team.
Oh, definitely not. That just shows that the future's not super bright for them.
Yeah.
At least the team that they're fielding is not matured yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's kind of like
they're not
with
reaching maturity yet.
Yeah, that's kind of like with all minor league teams. It's to test the maturity and see how mature these players are, and that's how they get on and move on to bigger things in the big leagues.
Right.
A couple guys that we have from the farm system. I heard some things about a man named Oscar De La Cruz. He's a right-handed pitcher, and he actually has a good chance of maybe making the starting rotation this year, which shouldn't be that hard because their starting rotation this year really isn't that good for the Chicago
We'll
Cubs.
talk about that later.
Yeah, okay, we will. But anyway, yeah, when he's healthy, he does have a good 91 to 95 mile an hour fastball, and he's a 6'4" right-handed pitcher. So his movement is pretty good with his pitches. His curveball is really good. He's able to have a lot of bend in that curveball, and yeah, I could see him being a potential starting pitcher later on in the season, maybe.
Definitely. Actually, whenever I was looking up the stats for the scouting reports for all of these minor league players, it was surprising to me that like 4 of the top 6 were all right-handed pitchers.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing for the Cubs. Now, the downside is the highest grade given to any of these players was a B. So that's where the catch is.
Yeah. And it's correct. Last time I saw, I think they didn't have any in the top 100.
They have
right?
0,
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, they have 0 prospects in the top 100 prospects, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the players I want to talk about have 5. Adbert Alzolay. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's 22 years old. 2.99 ERA, and he had 114 innings last season. Obviously, he's 22 years old. He's pretty young. That 2.99 ERA just shows that, he might be able to perform at the next level.
Yeah.
You look at even the Cardinal pitchers, they're putting up numbers pretty similar to that, and we're expecting them to be major league ready. So I saw that. That was pretty assuring to me. And on the list that I was looking at, he was actually ranked number 1 above your guy here. And then Aramis Aidman, he's a shortstop. He's 19 years old. The thing that they liked about him was that he's very, very fast.
Mm-hmm.
They said that he could, at the major league level, probably have 25 stolen bases or so. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
They said that his biggest drawback right now is he's young, so he makes a lot of foolish plays playing defensively.
Yeah.
And they said that something that they liked is that they think that he could potentially have a decently high batting average. But that wasn't supported by last season. His batting average last season was .267, and again, that was at the minor league level. Yeah. So you would assume that at the major league level that would go down. So, then another right-handed pitcher. Actually, both of these guys are going to be right-handed pitchers. Alex Lange and Jose Albertos. Lange is 22. Albertos is 19. Both of them are going to be right around a 3 ERA. The thing that I like about Lange over Albertos is Lange had 124 innings and Albertos had 43 innings. I don't know why Albertos didn't have as many innings as he did. He might have been in a relief role where Lange is in a starting role. But again, the ERA being right around 3, especially in their rotation, would be good. An improvement on what they currently have. And then another position player is Victor Caratini. He's a catcher and he's a first baseman. He's 24 years old. His batting average in the minor leagues last season was .342. He had 10 home runs and he only had 292 at bats. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. So maybe the Iowa Cubs have some hope.
Yeah, I mean some. I mean, again, you look at these 5 and you're one. Really the only one that I'm not entirely impressed with is Aidman.
Yeah.
The shortstop. But again, he's only 19 years old, so who knows? A year or two, he might be major league ready.
We'll find out this year and see how they do this year. Hopefully, they'll do a little better than their 64-72 win game season. So, all right. So now we'll go ahead and move on to the additions and losses of the team in the Chicago Cubs. First, we're going to talk about the 2 guys who became free agents this year, John Lackey and Jake Arrieta. John Lackey did play for the Cardinals, actually. He did play for the Cardinals before he got traded to the Cubs, and now he is a free agent. And basically what he's wanting to do is he's wanting to find a spot where he's going to end his career, because he's getting up there in age. He's been playing forever. He played for the Red Sox. I think that was where he started, right?
I think
With
so,
the Red
yeah.
Sox. Red Sox, and then moved to the Cardinals, and then went to the Cubs. And I feel like he's trying to find a place where he's going to end his career, because he had a pretty mediocre year last year. I think he was like 500 with his record, and I don't know. I just feel like getting up in that age, I feel like he's going to have to find a spot where he's going to stay and retire.
Right. I mean, he's got one contract left. That's the thing. I would look for Lackey to try to sign a 3 or 4 year deal. Just again, because if he signs a 1 or 2 year deal, no one's gonna sign him after that. So I would look for him to try to sign a 3 or 4 year deal. I'd expect a 3 year deal. And again, he's a mediocre pitcher at this point, so don't look for him to really break the bank either. He'll be a $10 million a year pitcher, if that. And so that's kind of what you're going to expect out of Lackey.
Yeah, and then Jake Arrieta, he's been a free agent, and he still hasn't been picked up by anyone. He's got an outrageous $200 million he's wanting for however many years he's wanting. And that's an absurd amount of money, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, and my thing is, like, look, I was reading an article. This would have been approximately a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. And they were saying that at that time, because things were kind of standing still and all the teams that needed the pitching weren't really looking to spend that much money, again, because this free agent market that's coming up in 2019 is so huge. Clayton Kershaw, Manny Machado, Josh Donaldson, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper. You have all those guys coming up, Chris Bryant, all those guys coming up in 2019. These guys are not looking for big, they're not wanting to sign big contracts. These teams are not wanting to, because they want to have room to be able to pick up those big difference maker players. And so I would expect the article was saying because of all those things, the combination of all those things, expect both Arrieta and Lance Lynn, who are both still free agents, to make about 75% of what they were originally asking for. And Lynn was wanting 4 years, $100 million contract. And Arrieta was wanting something very similar. I think it was 5 years, $125 million or something like that. And so they were saying expect them to make about 75% of that. So that would put Arrieta, like what, $21 million a year, something like that, right
yeah.
around there, for 5 years. And again, that would be, for me, still too big of a contract to be given him.
Oh yeah. The Phillies and the Nationals have both been looking at him. I just saw that they were both intrigued with him, but I feel like it's a good thing and a bad thing that he hasn't signed with a team yet. A good thing, actually a bad thing, is that he's not pitching. He should be playing. He should be playing games in spring training. Yeah, because spring training is a really big deal. And but it is a good thing that injuries do happen with teams, and teams can be desperate. And then maybe they'll get closer to that $200 million. Maybe not quite that $200 million that he's wanting, but maybe gets closer than what they may have gotten whenever, at like the start of the season compared to like middle of the season or something.
Because they're
like that.
in dire need of something.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
I would look for any team that could do it, which would be like Dodgers, Nationals, the Yankees. I think the best fit for Arrieta would be, a team where I think he could make the biggest difference would be the Yankees. If you look, the Yankees' biggest drawback is pitching, starting pitching. And they're gonna have run support. That's the thing. They're gonna have run support. So, Arrieta doesn't even have to do great. He just has to do mediocre at best, and he's gonna get a lot of wins just by being on the mound. So I think that would be the best fit for him. But I don't see them chomping off that big of a contract, especially with what they're paying Stanton and what they're going to be. They're expected to get Machado next season, in 2019.
Yeah,
so
because out of the plethora of free agents next season, I'm sure they're going to pick up somebody.
Right.
Someone
big. Yeah.
All right, and then the addition that they got, the only big addition that they got, big in quotation marks, in my opinion and his opinion, Darvish. Who? That's the key thing. Who is Darvish?
So
at this point?
Darvish is what the Cubs are claiming him to be, this big difference maker. Even whenever he was with the Dodgers were saying that he's going to be this big difference maker. And really, if you look at his numbers, they don't back that. He is an average pitcher. Maybe John Lackey isn't what he used to be, but if you look at the difference in pay that they would have to pay Darvish as opposed to Lackey. I would probably take Lackey over Darvish.
Really?
That's an unpopular thought, I'm sure, but Darvish is severely overhyped.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
Severely.
Yeah. He had that rookie season in 2012, but then after that, I thought he retired.
Yeah.
I didn't know where he went.
He's mediocre. Yeah. He's the definition of this is an average pitcher.
Yep.
This guy is average.
Yep.
His career ERA is 3.42, which is not super great. It's decent. Yeah. It's decent. It's not fantastic.
By the way, ERA is earned run average, just for pitchers. They average how many? What was his ERA again?
3.42.
Okay, so he averages about a little over 3 runs per 9 innings. That's basically what that means.
And his win percentage is 57%. So 57% of the time that he's out on the mound, he's getting a win. Which is, again, not bad. It's better than him being below 50%.
Oh, yeah.
But I just am not blown away by this guy. He's had 5 seasons in the major leagues, 131 games. So that means he's on the mound 26 times in a season, which, is good.
Yeah.
That shows that he's healthy. But
he's actually sick right now. He's got scratched from the starting spot in spring training with stomach illness. So right now he's out. I don't know how a stomach ailment is what they said. So I don't know how long that's gonna last. Hopefully it doesn't last long for them, and he can get back out there. But
as a Cardinal fan, I hope it lasts all season.
Well, yeah, me too.
Well, actually, no, I don't. I don't hope it lasts all season. They'll probably have to.
What are you talking about? Okay. Anyway, we are going to go ahead with all the additions and losses out of the way. We'll move on to the starting rotation since we're talking about Darvish. We already talked about him. Talked about how we thought he was just he's mediocre basically. Not really that
a good
impressive.
Cardinal comparison for him, I think, would be probably Adam Wainwright. I think Adam Wainwright has the potential to put up the same numbers as Darvish this season.
Yep.
I don't look for Darvish to be a huge difference maker, so that's my biggest problem. The Cubs are saying, "Oh, well, we're gonna compete for World Series again."
Yeah.
Darvish isn't gonna take you from here to here.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna take you. He's gonna take you from here to here.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah.
So
you have to think. I mean, I think Yu Darvish is like 31.
yeah,
I think so. Like he's getting up there in age too. Like he's.
in my opinion, Cubs would have been better off signing Lance Lynn.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Smaller contract, and Len is right around the same age. He's,
Yep.
I think, 29, 30 years old.
Mhm.
So,
All right. So after Yu Darvish, we actually have the ace who is 34 years old, John Lester.
yeah, obviously John Lester's biggest problem is he's fighting Father Time.
I think his biggest problem is the fact that he can't throw the ball to first base.
Oh, okay. Have to recover from that one. Yeah, I mean, again, that's just part of him aging,
No.
His ERA is still not bad for being 34 years old.
Mhm.
His projected ERA for next season is 3.57, so that's not terrible, not great, not
good,
terrible.
Not bad. Yeah.
It's somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
But definitely for an ace, 3.57 is not something to be super proud of.
Well, yeah.
So,
And then we have Kyle Hendricks, who I think he should be the ace in my opinion, because I think he obviously had an outstanding season last season.
Obviously, yeah, he had a really good season last season. And what is astonishing to me is as good of a season as he had last season. They actually project him to have a higher ERA than everyone in the rotation except for Chatwood.
Really?
So his projected ERA is 3.66, which, compared to Lester's 3.57, I mean, all these guys are really close.
Yeah, they're around the same area.
Darvish's projected ERA is the lowest, or is the second lowest in the rotation. His is 3.52, Lester's is 3.57, and then Hendricks is 3.66. So, I mean, they're all within a couple points of each other.
Yeah.
So,
and honestly, if that's the case, that's something that you would think you would be wanting to look at, if the fact that all of your pitchers are around the same area in the ERA and they're all at like 4.
Yeah.
You would think that would be what they're thinking about, but maybe they have something up their sleeve or something, or they're seeing something differently than we are. That's why baseball's how it is, and that's why baseball's baseball, and it's a human sport. We'll just have to figure it out. I don't know how. Can't use numbers. You just can't do it. I don't know. So then we have Jose Quintana. Now, he played for the White Sox before he came over across town to Chicago. The Cubs. The Cubbies. He went from the White Sox to the Cubs, and he had a decent season last year. I think he's projected to do decent this year.
Yeah, he's projected to be the best one in the rotation.
Yeah.
He's projected to have 14 wins and 8 losses, 3.38 ERA. Again, next closest one is Darvish at 3.52. So that's the biggest gap between any two players here. Actually, I take that back. The difference between Hendricks and Chatwood is a little bit bigger, but marginal at best. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then Tyler Chatwood, what you've been saying, he's a guy that he's a prospect, and he's not a prospect, but he's a guy that they got from the minors that came up to the majors. I'm not really too impressed with him. I haven't really heard a lot about him.
I haven't heard much about him.
Yeah.
I mean,
granted, I'm a Cardinals fan, and I don't really hear about him that much at all anyway.
Right.
But still, I don't know. I'm not really that impressed with him.
Well, something that stands out to me is whenever I'm talking to Cub fans in general, I don't hear any of them bragging up Chatwood at all.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yep.
You hear them talk about, Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, all those guys, right?
Yep.
I hear nothing about Chatwood.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, well, maybe these projected stats are not too far off.
Okay.
They have him at 8 wins, 9 losses, and a 4.20 ERA.
So obviously not good.
Yeah, so I mean, he's the only one that actually has an ERA above 4.
So with the starting rotations out of the way, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the starting lineup. And I'm going to talk about my starting lineup for the Cubs, and then you'll talk about yours. My starting lineup, we have Albert Almora Jr. in center field, then Chris Bryant at third base, Anthony Rizzo at first, Wilson Contreras behind the plate, Kyle Schwarber at left field, Addison Russell at shortstop, Jason Hayward in right field, and Javier Baez at second base, and then that pitcher spot. Now that's my lineup, and I'm not really. It's an okay lineup. It's not a bad lineup, but it could definitely, I feel, be better defensive wise more than offensive wise. But that's kind of just my opinion. I don't know how other people feel about that, but yeah, that's my opinion with it.
So my lineup, this is the projected lineup I've seen.
Mhm.
So this is the projected lineup I've seen. So I've seen Hap or Hop. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Hap.
Sure.
Okay. Bryant, Rizzo, Contreras, Schwarber, Russell, Hayward, Baez.
Mhm.
Now, what I think should probably happen is I don't understand why in this lineup Bryant is batting second, because I feel like he has too much power to be batting second.
Mhm.
So what I think is probably have Baez bat second, and then have Bryant bat third or fourth. I'd bat him third,
Mhm.
and then have Rizzo bat fourth, and then Schwarber fifth. Contreras should bat sixth. Russell seventh.
Hayward and then Hap in the 8th spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hayward and then the Hap. Yeah, Hap in the 8th spot and then that pitcher spot.
Yeah.
Now, around on the defensive spectrum, the real big spots that they have are third base, first base, catcher, and I'd give him second base.
I'd give him second base offensively.
Yeah.
Defensively, Baez is solid.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing is, like, look, he's not going to be a Colton Long type of a player. He's not going to be a guy that's making plays all the way in center field.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see him being that. I think he's good.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely.
And he's young too.
Oh yeah, he's really young.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, he's more than worth starting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that's not the question here. It's just
Yep.
I think that he's not. I would take Colton Long over him.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with him. So.
And a big thing that I want to talk about is actually Kyle Schwarber. I actually like him a lot. I don't know.
He shed some serious poundage.
Yeah, he's lost 20 pounds over the off season. He's been I actually saw an interview that he was talking about that everyone's been caught up on his weight and losing his weight, and he's more worried about being able to play all 162 games of the season.
Right.
That's what he's striving for. He's not striving to lose weight. He's just striving to condition himself to be able to play every single day.
Right, and I mean that's just part of it. I mean, part of being able to play, every game of a season is being in good enough shape to do it. You know, being in good enough physical shape. I mean, obviously he has the tools to be a major league player. It's just it's the same problem that we had with Jed Jerko.
Yep.
Jed Jerko was a bigger guy.
Yep.
He shed some pounds, and hopefully he'll be able to maintain a full season.
Yeah. All right. So now, with the lineups out of the way, we're going to go ahead and move on to a little segment that we're going to be doing. We're going to kind of trivia
each other.
Sure. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Okay. So you'll go ahead and ask me a question first, and this is gonna be based on whatever team we're doing. So this time we're gonna be doing the Cubs, and then we'll gonna do the other teams that we talk about later on. So first we're gonna do Colton's question that he's got. What's your question?
So, why is the Cubs mascot named Clark?
It has a name.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had a mascot.
I mean, I know they're the Cubs, so I thought I know there's a bear, but why is it called Clark?
I didn't even know they had, we have Fredbird.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had a mascot.
Yeah.
I thought literally they didn't have someone that was out there.
Yeah. I don't know. Do they?
Apparently they do.
Okay. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So, Clark. Okay, so my guess would be Lewis and Clark. They were Cub Scouts, right?
Yeah, that's it. Good job.
That's
Gold
my
star.
That's my guess. Am I anywhere close?
Not even marginally close.
Okay.
So, the street that apparently runs down the third base line, outside of the stadium, obviously, is North Clark Street, and apparently that's why they named him Clark. So, I don't know Why?
Okay.
I don't know.
Wait, is that the same thing with the Cardinals? Is there a street that runs down third base named Fredberg?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Fred Street.
Fred Street.
Hey.
Fred Avenue.
Hey, it's Fred.
Okay. Okay. My question to you.
Uh-huh.
Who was the guy who touched the fair ball that started the curse of the GOAT?
Are you joking?
No. There's actually a really good 30 for 30 on this, and I
haven't seen it.
I encourage everyone to watch it. I encourage you to watch it too. It is so
I watched
good.
30 for
I
30
enjoyed it.
even.
Yeah.
I watch E62, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one apparently.
Yeah, it's so good. So intriguing.
I have no
Chicken.
clue.
Okay. His name was Steve Bartman, and actually there's a cool story behind that. What was happening was, it was a playoff game, and he actually, I'm not entirely sure if it was a playoff game. Don't quote me on that. So it was definitely a big game and like a turning point of the season with this incident. And what happened was this man, Steve Bartman, was on the left field, like kind of side, right by the edge. And he was listening to the game on the radio while he was watching it at the same time. And this fly ball comes towards the fence. He reaches over, touches the ball, and keeps the left fielder from catching the ball, which would have been a turning point in the game. And the Cubs ended up losing that game. They were winning and ended up losing that game because of that. And
well, certainly that didn't help. It might have not caused them to lose, but
it was definitely somewhere to point fingers at about the game. And the crazy part was he didn't know about it right away because he was listening to it on the radio and he had no idea that he interfered with the play until like 5 minutes after, because the radio delays the game.
Right.
It can't, because the difference between live and the radio, it's different.
Right.
So like he didn't know about it right away, which I think is just so interesting. And just to think, he had no idea what he was doing, and he started all these riots in Chicago over this one man, and he had like death threats and all this stuff, and it was just insane.
I mean, it doesn't. I'd love to say that it surprises me that he got death threats, but it doesn't at all.
Yeah.
I mean, people with sports are crazy. I mean, think about if someone did that at Bush. I mean, they would probably get 30,000 emails a year about
it's insane
how they need to die.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was the trivia that we had. So now we'll go ahead and go back to our regularly scheduled program. It is 19 after the hour. I don't know. A lot of people in podcasts say that, so I just decided to say that. I don't know why. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on to what the Cubs should be scared of in the division in this season. My thing would be their pitching in general, top to bottom, starting pitching to their closer.
Yeah.
I think they need to be scared about that because, like we said earlier, their average ERA for their starting pitching is 4.
Well, I mean, it's around 4.
It's around 4. It's not quite 4. The average isn't 4, but the average is like 360 maybe.
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah, right around there. So, I feel like that's a definite issue that they need to take care of, and I feel like they tried to, but just did a poor job doing it.
Well, I mean, certainly not a good thing.
Yeah.
We'll put it like that. Here's my thing with the Cubs, though. I don't see them landing any huge players in the 2019 season.
Yeah.
I don't see them landing a Manny Machado. Why would they? They have Chris Bryant.
But he's also
going to be a free agent in 2019, though.
Yep.
So if I was the Cubs, I'd be looking at trying to acquire. I mean, look, here's the thing. I would just give up on the whole dream of trying to acquire someone in 2019.
Yeah.
Other than Bryant.
Yeah.
Sign him to a deal.
Mm-hmm.
If I was the Cubs, I would do everything in my power to try to sign Lance Lynn, Alex Cobb, Jake Arrieta.
I'm trying to fix my hat. Okay, we're good.
Jake Arrieta, all these guys. Look, if you had a rotation that included Lance Lynn or Arrieta, where you can bump that guy that's going to have a 4 ERA out of your rotation, and you replace it with someone that's going to be in the low 3s, that makes me feel a lot better about things. Well, I know that doesn't sound like a big difference. Throughout the course of a season, that is going to be a big difference. You know, how many games do you score 5 runs? Not many. How many games do you score 4 runs? A lot more.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say, well, man, if we could get that 4 ERA out of there
Mm-hmm.
and get another mid to low threes like you would get from a Lance Lynn, Alex Cobb, Jake Arrieta, something like that.
Yep.
Plug that in there, man, you're solid. You have a good
Yeah.
team then. You have a team that I feel like could compete for not winning a World Series, but getting to the World Series then.
So now we're gonna go ahead and talk about the end of the year prediction. Like, how do you think they're gonna end up? I'll let you go ahead and start.
So
with this.
with the current team that they have, I mean, all around the field, they're a decent team. The only two spots that I'm really, whenever the Cardinals are playing them, I think, oh, this guy, we have these two guys we have to worry about. That's Rizzo and Bryant. That's it. The rotation, I'm not scared of any of their pitchers in their rotation, to be honest. The one I fear the most is probably
Hendricks.
And that's just because I think Darvish is severely overrated.
Yeah.
I think he might be one of the most overrated players in all of baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he's the only one that I'm moderately scared of in the rotation, and then Bryant and Rizzo, and they're only two guys. They can't do everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I look for them finishing second or third in the division. I still have the Cardinals finishing first in the division.
Yeah.
And I think that the Brewers will finish ahead of them as well.
I know in the last podcast that we did, I said that the Cubs were going to win the division. After the information I've been looking up,
That's what I've been telling you. I've been looking at the numbers.
mistaken.
I'm looking at the numbers, and I just don't see how they can do it.
No, there's really no aspect of their game.
Here's what bothers me. Look, they didn't compete in the World Series last season.
Yeah.
Right. They weren't involved in the World Series last season.
Mm-hmm.
And from last season to this season, they lost Arrieta.
Yeah.
Okay. Who
So if anything,
was probably actually their best pitcher.
yeah. So if anything, they took a step back from last.
And their solution to him leaving, right? His contract being done was to plug it in with Yu Darvish. And Yu Darvish in every aspect of the game, ERA, wins loss, everything, is an inferior player. He is an inferior player. So if you're trying to tell me they're going to be better this year, that is clearly wrong.
Yeah.
Unless Darvish has the best year of his life, that doesn't happen.
Yep.
Right? I mean, he would have to have an ERA lower than his career ERA.
Yep.
To be what Arrieta was last season.
Mhm.
So I mean,
It's just not
going to happen.
Numbers don't
it
lie.
it just doesn't back it up.
Yep. All right. So now we'll end up with a little bit of a hot take that we just kind of make a bold prediction of the Cubs season. Mine is a guy who we've talked about before, Kyle Schwarber. I actually feel that he will be good enough this year to actually win a Gold Glove. Now he's been doing fielding training, and he's been getting a little faster, especially losing those 20 pounds definitely helped. Like, he was a big boy and playing left field, and now he's a nice skinny boy.
Oh yeah.
But he's been working on his fielding game, and I feel like my bold prediction is that he's going to be winning a Gold Glove this year in left field for the National League.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty bold prediction. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of people who didn't even want Schwarber in the outfield.
Yeah, and there's multiple people in the National League who could take that over him.
Right.
Like Ozuna.
Right.
He's one of them that could take it from him. Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty bold take. I think that, I mean, again, I'm a Cardinal fan, but Ozuna got the Gold Glove last year.
Yep.
So I think that, and if you look at his defensive runs saved, Ozuna is in my opinion, the favorite to get it.
Yeah.
So I mean, props to you.
Yeah,
that's a big claim.
Yeah,
that's a big claim.
Yeah.
I guess my big bold take would probably be so Baez is projected for 20 home runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say that he hits 30.
Yeah.
I think he's projected to hit 20. I'm really impressed with Baez's bat.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say, yeah, like he's got significantly more pop than Colton Wong. I'm just not impressed with his defense as much as I am Colton Wong. I mean, you look at the Cardinals. If you just look at the Cardinals team, they need the defense from their second baseman more than they do the ability to hit a home run.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubs are in a little bit different situation where they don't need the defense as much as they do the home runs. That's just not the style of baseball that they're playing right now.
Mhm.
So I look for Baez to hit probably 30 home runs, and I'll say that he even beats his projected batting average of 277, and he hits.
Over 300.
I won't say over 300. That's bold.
Hey.
I say between 285 and 300, somewhere around there, which is not much higher than his 277 projected, but anything above 280, I think
it's
is
solid.
pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, I would take 280.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, especially for a second baseman.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
not second
That's not one
basemans
of your
aren't
power
easy.
bats.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not easy to come by with the power hitter at second base. All right, guys. So that'll do it for our Chicago Cubs podcast for the NL Central Division. Next time, be sure to be listening in. We're going to be talking about the Milwaukee Brewers and the take on the Milwaukee Brewers and the takes that we have. So now, it's finally time to get rid of these clothes.
Yeah.
It's
It
hurting
doesn't.
me.
It doesn't feel good.
I honestly feel like my arms and my head is burning.
I felt dirty purchasing these items.
Yeah, I felt weird wearing this.
I had to wear Cardinal gear to go and purchase this just because I had to try to make up for it somehow.
Yeah, I still have the tag on this shirt that we bought because I'm planning
And
on
the hat.
I'm planning on return, and the hat is also for a baby, and I'm wearing it. So now we get to properly dispose of these how we need to.
Right.